r/confession. My teacher stole my boyfriend, so I ruined her career. My teacher stole my boyfriend, so I ruined her career. The text notification lit up Jake's phone screen at exactly 2:47 a.m., and I wish I'd never looked. Can't wait to see you after class tomorrow. Face blowing a kiss M. I stared at those 11 words until they blurred together, my heart hammering so loud I was sure it would wake Jake up beside me. There was only one M in our lives who would be texting my boyfriend of 2 years at nearly 3 a.m., and she happened to be the same person who'd been mentoring me in AP English for the past 6 months. Ms. Morgan. My teacher. My fucking teacher. With trembling fingers, I scrolled up through their message thread, and each text felt like a knife twisting deeper. 3 weeks of flirty exchanges. Inside jokes. Plans to meet up. Jake telling her how mature she was compared to girls his age. Her calling him babe. My stomach lurched as I read her message from 2 days ago. Asterisk, your girlfriend seems sweet, but she's still just a kid. You need someone who understands you. Asterisk. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. This was the same woman who'd encouraged me to apply for the creative writing scholarship. Who'd stayed after school to help me with my college essays. Who told me I reminded her of herself at 18 and that I had so much potential. Jake stirred next to me, and I quickly set his phone back on the nightstand, my mind racing. How long had this been going on? How could I have been so blind? All those times Ms. Morgan had asked about my relationship with Jake, saying she was just looking out for me. All those times Jake had been busy when I wanted to hang out. The way Ms. Morgan's eyes would linger on him when he picked me up from school. I felt like such an idiot. I slipped out of bed and locked myself in the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. 18 years old, honor roll student, president of the debate team, and apparently too stupid to see that the 2 people I trusted most were playing me like a complete fool. The worst part? Ms. Morgan was right. I was just a kid compared to her. She was 26, sophisticated, had her own apartment and career. She could offer Jake things I couldn't: freedom, experience, no curfew, no parents checking in. What did I have? A part-time job at Target and parents who still made me text when I got somewhere safe. But as I stood there in my pajamas, tears streaming down my face, something shifted inside me. The devastation started crystallizing into something sharper, more focused. Ms. Morgan thought she could manipulate both of us because she was the adult, the authority figure. She held my grades in her hands, my college recommendations, my future. She probably figured I'd never find out, and even if I did, what could some teenage girl do about it? Jake thought he could have his cake and eat it too, keep his high school girlfriend as a cover while pursuing his older woman fantasy on the side. They both saw me as powerless. Naive. Just a kid. They had no idea how wrong they were. I pulled out my own phone and started taking screenshots of every single message in that thread. If Ms. Morgan wanted to play games with a teenager, she was about to learn that this particular teenager had nothing left to lose and a very specific set of skills when it came to research and documentation. Game on. The next morning at school, I had to sit through first period calculus pretending my entire world hadn't imploded at 2:47 a.m. Every time someone laughed or whispered, I was convinced they knew. That somehow the humiliation was written across my forehead in permanent marker. But the real test came third period. AP English. With her. MS. Morgan stood at the front of the classroom in her perfectly pressed blazer, discussing symbolism in The Great Gatsby like she wasn't a lying, manipulative snake who'd been systematically destroying my life behind my back. Her voice had that same warm, encouraging tone she always used with me. The tone I'd actually believed meant she cared about my future. Emma, what do you think Fitzgerald was trying to say about the corruption of the American dream? She asked, her eyes meeting mine with what looked like genuine interest. I stared at her for a long moment, letting the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Several classmates turned to look at me. Ms. Morgan's eyebrows raised slightly. I said slowly, that it's about people who present themselves as trustworthy mentors while secretly betraying the people who look up to them. Something flickered across her face, too quick for anyone else to catch, but I saw it. A flash of panic, maybe recognition. But she recovered smoothly, nodding as if I'd given a textbook answer. Interesting interpretation. The theme of betrayal is certainly prevalent throughout the novel. The hypocrisy made my skin crawl. After class, she called out as students filed toward the door. Emma, could you stay behind for a moment? I wanted to discuss your college essay draft. My heart pounded as the last student left and she closed the door. This was it. She knew that I knew. Your essay about overcoming challenges shows real promise, she said, moving to her desk. But I think you could dig deeper into the emotional impact. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who. She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. Who help us grow by challenging us in unexpected ways. Was she seriously trying to give me a life lesson right now? The audacity was breathtaking. You're absolutely right, Ms. Morgan, I said, my voice steady despite the rage bubbling inside me. I'm learning so much about how people can manipulate trust. It's definitely going to make my essay more authentic. Her smile faltered for just a second. Well, yes. Authenticity is important. Just remember that sometimes situations are more complex than they initially appear. Especially at your age, it's easy to misinterpret. I should get to lunch, I cut her off. Don't want to be late. I walked out before she could respond, my hands shaking with adrenaline. She was already trying to get ahead of this, probably planning her defense. Poor, confused teenage girl who couldn't understand the complexities of adult relationships. She'd paint me as jealous, delusional, a scorned kid making things up. But I had screenshots. I had timestamps. And I was just getting started. At lunch, I sat alone in the library, creating a new folder on my phone labeled documentation. The screenshots from Jake's phone were just the beginning. I started making notes about every interaction I could remember between Ms. Morgan and Jake. Every time she'd asked about him. Every time he'd shown up during her office hours when I wasn't there. I thought about going to the principal immediately, but something held me back. If I moved too fast, she could claim it was just friendly conversation taken out of context. Jake could lie and say I'd misunderstood. Adults always believed other adults over teenagers. No, I needed more. I needed this to be ironclad, undeniable, career-ending proof. And I was going to get it. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before in my entire academic career. I skipped 6th period to follow Jake. I knew his schedule by heart after 2 years together. Free period, then usually he'd hang out in the parking lot with his friends or hit the gym. But today, I watched from behind the science building as he walked in the completely opposite direction, toward the English wing. My chest tightened as he disappeared around the corner. I gave him a 30-second head start, then crept after him, my sneakers silent on the polished floors. The hallway was mostly empty during 6th period, just a few students at their lockers and the distant sound of muffled lectures from behind closed doors. I peered around the corner and my heart sank. There he was, leaning against Ms. Morgan's doorframe, that stupid cocky smile on his face that I used to think was charming. She was standing close to him, too close, laughing at something he'd said. I ducked behind a display case showcasing student poetry, irony not lost on me, and pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it twice, but I managed to start recording. The angle wasn't perfect, but you could clearly see them together, see her hand briefly touch his arm, see the way she looked at him. Can't keep doing this here, I heard her say as a group of students walked past, their voices covering hers. I strained to hear more, but they'd moved inside her classroom. I stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes, my back pressed against the cold wall, phone ready. When Jake finally emerged, his hair was slightly messed up and Ms. Morgan appeared in the doorway behind him, quickly scanning the hallway before stepping back inside. The evidence was circumstantial, but it was something. More importantly, I now knew their pattern. But as I hurried toward my locker, trying to look casual, I nearly collided with Brittany Chen from my debate team. "Emma. There you are," she said, grabbing my arm. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Ms. Morgan asked me to find you, she wants to see you in her classroom right now." My blood turned to ice. Had she seen me? Did she know I'd been watching? Did she say why? I asked, hoping my voice sounded normal. "Something about your recommendation letter for Northwestern." She seemed kind of stressed though. I forced a smile. "Thanks, Britt. I'll head over there now." But as Brittany walked away, I stood frozen in the hallway. This felt like a trap. Ms. Morgan wanted me in her classroom right after her little rendezvous with Jake? That couldn't be a coincidence. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake, "Hey babe, can't drive you home today. Something came up. Sorry. Asterisk. Something came up." Right. I stared at his message, then at the video I just recorded, then down the hall toward Ms. Morgan's classroom. Every instinct told me not to go, to make up an excuse, to avoid the confrontation I could feel brewing. But then I thought about her condescending tone earlier, about Jake's lies, about how they both thought I was too stupid and naive to figure out what was happening right under my nose. I squared my shoulders and walked toward her classroom, my phone recording app ready to go. If Ms. Morgan wanted to play psychological games with me, fine. But this time I'd be documenting every word. Because if there's one thing debate team had taught me, it was that the person with the best evidence wins. And I was building a case that would destroy them both. The classroom door was slightly ajar, and I could hear her moving around inside, probably practicing whatever manipulation she had planned. I took a deep breath, hit record, and knocked. "Come in, Emma. We need to talk." The way she said "we need to talk" made my skin crawl, but I pushed through the doorway anyway, keeping my phone positioned so the microphone would pick up everything. Ms. Morgan was sitting behind her desk, hands folded, wearing that concerned teacher expression I'd seen her use with struggling students. But now I could see how calculated it was, how she wielded that fake sympathy like a weapon. "Close the door, please," she said softly. I hesitated. Being alone with her behind a closed door felt dangerous, but refusing would look suspicious. I pulled the door shut but stayed near it, ready to bolt if needed. "I'm concerned about you, Emma," she began, tilting her head in that practiced way. "You seemed upset in class today, and some of your recent work has been different. More aggressive in tone." "I don't know what you mean," I said, though my heart was hammering so loud I was sure she could hear it. "Your essay revision, for example. All that focus on betrayal and manipulation. And today's comment about trustworthy mentors?" She leaned forward, her voice taking on that gentle, therapeutic tone. "I'm wondering if there's something happening at home, or maybe relationship troubles? I know how intense first love can feel at your age." The condescension in those last words made my jaw clench. She was already building her narrative, poor, emotionally unstable teenage girl having boyfriend problems. "Jake and I are fine," I lied. "Are you?" She stood and moved around the desk, leaning against it casually. "Because he mentioned you've been going through his phone lately. That's not healthy behavior, Emma. That level of jealousy and paranoia can really damage a relationship." My blood turned to ice. Jake had told her about me checking his phone? When? How much had they discussed about me and my so-called paranoia? "I don't go through his phone," I said, but my voice came out weaker than I intended. "It's okay, honey. I'm not judging you. First relationships are learning experiences." She moved closer, and I fought the urge to back away. "But I want you to know that if Jake has been making you feel insecure or paranoid, that says more about him than about you. Sometimes boys that age aren't mature enough for serious relationships." The sheer audacity took my breath away. She was trying to convince me that Jake was the problem, that I should break up with him, probably so she could have him without the complication of me in the picture. "Jake's not the problem," I managed. "No?" She raised an eyebrow. "Then why do I have a student who's normally competent and articulate suddenly writing dark essays about betrayal and trust?" "Emma, I've been teaching long enough to recognize the signs of emotional manipulation." I almost laughed at the irony. She was accusing Jake of emotionally manipulating me while literally trying to manipulate me in real time. "Maybe I'm just exploring different themes in my writing," I said. "Maybe. Or maybe someone has been filling your head with doubts and insecurities." She moved back to her desk, pulling out a folder. "I've been thinking about your recommendation letters for college. Northwestern is very competitive, and they pay attention to emotional stability in their applicants." The threat was subtle but clear. Play along with her narrative, or my college dreams would suffer. "I want you to know that you can trust me, Emma. I'm on your side. If Jake has been inappropriate with you in any way, or if he's been talking to other girls." She let the sentence hang, watching my reaction carefully. This was it. She was fishing to see how much I knew, ready to throw Jake under the bus to protect herself. My phone felt heavy in my hand, still recording every word of her manipulation. She thought she was being so clever, so subtle. She had no idea I could see right through her performance. Actually, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded, I think you're right about Jake. Maybe we should break up. Her eyes lit up with what looked almost like relief, and in that moment, I knew I had her exactly where I wanted her. Really? Ms. Morgan's voice carried a note of barely concealed excitement that made my stomach turn. I think that might be wise, Emma. You deserve someone who respects you. I nodded, forcing myself to look vulnerable and confused. It's just, I found some things on his phone that made me uncomfortable. But I wasn't sure if I was overreacting. She leaned forward, predator sensing wounded prey. What kind of things? Text messages. With someone older. I watched her face carefully. Someone he said understood him better than I do. For just a split second, her mask slipped. I caught a flash of panic before she rearranged her features back into concerned teacher mode. Oh, honey. I'm so sorry. She moved closer, reaching out like she wanted to comfort me. That must have been devastating to discover. Do you know who he's been talking to? The question was asked casually, but I could hear the tension underneath. She needed to know how much I knew, how much damage control she'd have to do. The messages were signed with just a letter. M. I let my voice break slightly. I keep wondering if it's someone from school. Maybe even someone I know and trust. Ms. Morgan went very still. M could be anyone, Emma. It's probably just some girl from another school. You know how boys are, they collect female attention like trophies. Maybe, I said, then delivered the line I'd been planning. But some of the messages mentioned things about me. Personal things I'd only told people I really trusted. Like my college application stress, or my parents' divorce last year. I watched the color drain from her face. Jake knew those details, but so did she. I confided in her during our mentoring sessions, thinking she actually cared about my well-being. That's concerning, she said slowly. If he's sharing your private information with other people, that's a serious violation of your trust. The weird part is, this person knew details about my schedule too. Like when I had debate practice or when I'd be staying late for student council. Almost like they work at the school. The silence stretched between us, heavy and dangerous. I could practically see her mind racing, trying to figure out her next move. Emma, she said finally, her voice taking on a warning edge. Sometimes when we're hurt, our imagination can run wild. It's easy to see conspiracies where there might just be coincidences. You're probably right, I agreed, but then added, I was thinking about taking the screenshots to Principal Martinez. Maybe he could help me figure out if it's someone from school staff. No. The word came out sharper than she intended, and she quickly tried to soften it. I mean, I don't think that's necessary. High school relationships end all the time, and involving the administration would just create unnecessary drama. Plus, think about how it might look on your permanent record. Another threat, wrapped in fake concern. But now I had it all on recording, her desperately trying to keep me from going to the principal, her knowledge of details that proved her guilt. But what if it really is a teacher? I pressed. Wouldn't that be against school policy? Of course it would be inappropriate, she said carefully. But making accusations without solid proof could ruin an innocent person's career. Are you absolutely certain about what you think you saw? The way she said absolutely certain felt like a challenge. Like she was betting on my teenage insecurity, expecting me to back down when faced with adult authority. My phone buzzed with a text. Without thinking, I glanced at it, and my blood froze. It was from Jake. M says you're acting weird. Stop being paranoid or we're done. Ms. Morgan noticed my reaction immediately. Everything okay? I looked up at her, phone still in my hand, and realized she'd been texting Jake while we were talking. Probably coordinating their story, making sure they had their lies straight. The betrayal hit me all over again, but this time it crystallized into pure, cold fury. Actually, Ms. Morgan, I said, standing up and moving toward the door, I think I know exactly what I need to do. Her voice sharpened immediately. Emma, wait. I think we should finish our conversation. But I was already at the door, my hand on the handle. Thanks for the advice, Ms. Morgan. You're right, I need to stop being paranoid and start trusting the evidence. I pulled the door open and walked out, leaving her sitting there with that fake concerned expression finally cracking around the edges. My hands were shaking with adrenaline, but for the first time since 2:47 a.m., I felt like I had some control back. The hallway was busier now as sixth period ended, students streaming toward their lockers. I blended into the crowd, my mind racing with everything I'd just recorded. Her desperation to keep me quiet. Her knowledge of personal details. That panicked look when I mentioned taking screenshots to the principal. But as I reached my locker, reality hit me like a freight train. I'd just played my hand way too early. Ms. Morgan wasn't stupid, she knew I was onto her now. She'd have time to prepare, to cover her tracks, maybe even to turn this around on me. My phone buzzed again. Jake, we need to talk. Now. Then another message, this time from an unknown number. This is Ms. Morgan. I got your number from the emergency contact list. Please don't do anything rash. Let's discuss this like adults tomorrow. She was texting me from a personal phone. How long had she had my number? The thought made my skin crawl. Before I could respond to either message, I spotted Jake pushing through the crowd toward me, his face dark with anger. Students were starting to stare. Jake Morrison didn't usually look like he wanted to murder someone in the middle of the hallway. What the hell is wrong with you? He hissed when he reached me, grabbing my arm hard enough to bruise. Ms. Morgan said you're making up crazy stories about some mystery woman. I yanked my arm away. Get your hands off me. Emma, seriously, you're being psychotic. Going through my phone, making up conspiracies, this is why guys don't date paranoid girls. The words hit exactly where he intended them to, but instead of breaking down, I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Paranoid girls like who, Jake? Girls who can't handle mature relationships? His face went pale. I don't know what you think you heard, but... But what? I'm just a kid who wouldn't understand. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so the gathering crowd couldn't hear. Tell me, when you were texting her at 3 a.m., did you mention how psychotic and paranoid your girlfriend was being? You're losing it, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Ms. Morgan was just trying to help because you've been acting crazy lately. Right. And I'm sure her help has nothing to do with those cute little winky face emojis. Jake's jaw clenched. You know what? Maybe this is for the best. Maybe I do need someone more mature. He leaned in close, his voice cruel. Someone who doesn't go through phones like a jealous stalker. The breakup I'd been expecting still hit like a punch to the gut, but not for the reasons he thought. It wasn't losing him that hurt, it was realizing that the boy I'd loved for 2 years was willing to gaslight me to protect his affair with my teacher. Perfect, I said, loud enough for nearby students to hear. Then you won't mind if I tell people exactly why we're breaking up. Panic flashed across his face. Emma, don't. Don't what? Don't tell people about your new girlfriend? I smiled sweetly. Why would you be embarrassed about that? He grabbed for my phone, probably thinking I was about to post something on social media, but I was faster. I stepped back, and his desperate lunge caught the attention of even more students. Jake Morrison, are you trying to take my phone? I said it loud enough to carry down the hallway. Give me that, he demanded, advancing on me again. But suddenly Brittany Chen was there, stepping between us. Whoa, what's going on here? Jake's upset because I found out about his side piece, I announced, my voice carrying clearly through the suddenly quiet hallway. Apparently I'm too immature to understand their special connection. The crowd was definitely listening now. Jake's face went red, then white. You're a lying bitch, he snarled, lunging for me again. This time, Marcus Webb from the football team caught Jake's arm. Dude, chill. Don't be grabbing on girls like that. She's making up lies about me. Jake protested. Then walk away, Marcus said firmly. Don't be putting hands on her. Jake looked around at the circle of students, all staring at him with varying degrees of disgust and curiosity. His social reputation was crumbling in real time, and we both knew it. This isn't over, he said to me, then pushed through the crowd and disappeared. But as the audience dispersed and I headed for the parking lot, my phone kept buzzing with increasingly frantic messages from Ms. Morgan's personal number. She was scared, and scared people made mistakes. I was counting on it. That night, I sat in my car outside Jake's house for 2 hours, watching his bedroom window and planning my next move. The recording from Ms. Morgan's classroom was solid, but I needed more. I needed something that would make denial impossible. My phone had been buzzing nonstop with messages from both of them. Jake's were getting increasingly hostile. Asterisk, you're going to regret this. Nobody will believe a jealous ex. I'll tell everyone how crazy you really are. Asterisk. Ms. Morgan's were more calculated. Asterisk, I understand you're hurting, but please think about your future. False accusations can have serious legal consequences. Let's meet tomorrow and work this out privately. Asterisk. The legal threat made me pause. Could she actually sue me? Could she get me expelled? My parents would lose their minds if Northwestern rescinded my acceptance over some scandal. But then I remembered her panicked face when I mentioned the screenshots, and my resolve hardened. Around 11 p.m., Jake's bedroom light finally went out. I was about to leave when I noticed another car pulling up to his house, a silver Honda Civic I recognized from the school parking lot. My heart stopped as I watched Ms. Morgan get out, look around nervously, then hurry to Jake's front door. This was it. This was what I needed. I grabbed my phone and started recording as she disappeared inside. His parents were out of town this week for some anniversary trip. Jake had mentioned it before everything went to hell. They thought they were so clever, meeting at his empty house like some kind of suburban Romeo and Juliet. Except Romeo wasn't supposed to be a high school student, and Juliet wasn't supposed to be his girlfriend's teacher. I settled in to wait, my phone charged and ready. Whatever happened next, I was going to document every second of it. 20 minutes later, they appeared at his bedroom window. The blinds were partially open, and while I couldn't make out details from the street, I could clearly see 2 figures silhouetted against the light. My hand shook as I zoomed in and kept recording, the timestamp showing 11:47 p.m. on a school night. This wasn't just inappropriate texting anymore. This was a teacher having a physical relationship with a student, in his bedroom, while his parents were away. Even if Jake was 18, the power dynamic made it unethical at minimum, and possibly illegal depending on school district policies. I was so focused on recording that I almost missed the car pulling up behind me. Panic shot through me as headlights flooded my rearview mirror. Had they seen me? Was it Jake's neighbors calling the police about someone lurking outside? But the car just sat there, engine running. I couldn't make out who was inside, but something about the situation felt wrong. After 5 agonizing minutes, the car slowly drove past me. As it passed under the streetlight, I caught a glimpse of the driver. Principal Martinez. My blood turned to ice. What was he doing in Jake's neighborhood at midnight? Did he know about Ms. Morgan and Jake? Was he involved somehow? Or worse, was he here to warn them about me? I watched his taillights disappear around the corner, my mind racing with new questions. How deep did this go? Was there more going on at our school than just one inappropriate relationship? My phone buzzed with a new message, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Asterisk, stop digging or you'll regret it. Some secrets are bigger than you think. Asterisk. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. Someone was watching me. Someone knew what I was doing and wanted me to stop. But as I looked back at Jake's house, where my teacher was still with my ex-boyfriend, I knew there was no going back now. Whatever I'd stumbled into was bigger than just revenge. And I was going to expose all of it. I drove home with shaking hands, that anonymous threat replaying in my mind. Asterisk, some secrets are bigger than you think. Asterisk, what did that mean? How many people knew about Ms. Morgan and Jake? And why was Principal Martinez cruising Jake's neighborhood at midnight? Back in my room, I stared at the video footage on my phone. 2 silhouettes in Jake's bedroom window, clear timestamp, Ms. Morgan's car in his driveway. It should have felt like victory, but that anonymous message had rattled me more than I wanted to admit. I was uploading everything to a secure cloud folder when my laptop chimed with a new email. The sender made my stomach drop, kmartinez@district.edu. Asterisk Emma, I need to see you in my office first thing tomorrow morning. This is not optional. Principal Martinez asterisk. He knew. Somehow, he knew what I was doing. I barely slept that night, my mind spinning through possibilities. Maybe he'd gotten calls from concerned parents about the hallway scene with Jake. Maybe Ms. Morgan had gone to him with some story about my false accusations. Or maybe, and this thought terrified me most, he was part of whatever was happening. The next morning, I walked into Lincoln High feeling like I was heading to my execution. Students whispered as I passed, word about yesterday's drama having spread like wildfire. I caught fragments, totally lost it. Jake Morrison. Heard she made up some crazy story. My phone buzzed constantly with messages I didn't want to read. Jake's friends defending him. Random classmates asking for gossip. And more anonymous numbers sending increasingly threatening texts. Asterisk, drop this now. You don't know who you're messing with. Last warning. Asterisk. I was 20 minutes early for first period when the intercom crackled to life. Emma Walsh to the principal's office immediately. The walk down those hallways felt endless. Students stared openly now, probably assuming I was in trouble for yesterday's scene. If only they knew how much deeper this actually went. Mrs. Peterson, the principal's secretary, barely looked up when I entered. Go right in. He's waiting. Principal Martinez sat behind his massive desk, his usually friendly demeanor replaced by something cold and calculating. But what made my blood freeze was seeing Ms. Morgan already seated across from him, tissues in hand, looking like the victim of some terrible tragedy. Sit down, Emma, Martinez said, gesturing to the empty chair next to Ms. Morgan. I remained standing. I'd prefer to stand. I said sit down. His voice carried an authority that made me comply, but I scooted my chair as far from Ms. Morgan as possible. Now then, Martinez folded his hands. Ms. Morgan has brought some very serious concerns to my attention. She says you've been making inappropriate accusations against her and threatening to spread false rumors. Ms. Morgan dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. I'm just so worried about her, Mr. Martinez. Emma's always been such a bright student, but lately she's been paranoid, aggressive. I think the stress of senior year might be affecting her mental health. The performance was flawless, concerned teacher worried about a troubled student. But I could see the calculation behind her tears, the way she kept glancing at Martinez for his reaction. These are serious allegations, Emma, Martinez continued. Ms. Morgan says you've accused her of having an inappropriate relationship with Jake Morrison. Do you understand how damaging false accusations can be to a teacher's career? I looked between them, noting how Martinez had positioned himself as Ms. Morgan's protector rather than an impartial administrator. They're not false. Emma, Ms. Morgan said softly, I know you're hurting after your breakup with Jake, but creating fantasies about. I have proof, I interrupted. The room went dead silent. Martinez and Ms. Morgan exchanged a look that confirmed my worst suspicions. They'd been hoping I was just making wild accusations without evidence. What kind of proof? Martinez asked carefully. I pulled out my phone, finger hovering over the video files. Text messages. Recordings. Video footage of Ms. Morgan at Jake's house last night. Ms. Morgan's face went white, but Martinez's expression didn't change. That scared me more than anything, like he'd been expecting this. Emma, he said slowly, I need you to give me your phone. What? Your phone. Now. If you have evidence of wrongdoing, it needs to be examined properly. Something in his tone set off every alarm bell in my head. This wasn't standard procedure, this was damage control. I think I should call my parents first, I said, clutching my phone tighter. That won't be necessary, Martinez stood up, moving toward me. This is a school matter, and we need to handle it internally. No. I backed toward the door. I want my parents here. I want a lawyer. Emma, don't make this harder than it needs to be, Ms. Morgan said, her mask slipping slightly. Just give him the phone and we can all move past this misunderstanding. But I was already at the door, my hand on the handle. Whatever was happening here, whatever secret I'd stumbled into, it was big enough that they were willing to intimidate a student to cover it up. I'm not giving you anything without my parents present, I said, and bolted into the hallway before either of them could stop me. Behind me, I heard Martinez on his phone, code blue. Student crisis. Locked down her access to everything. I ran. I burst through the school's front doors, my heart hammering against my ribs as I heard footsteps echoing behind me in the hallway. My car keys felt slippery in my sweaty palms as I fumbled with the door lock, expecting Martinez or security to tackle me at any second. But as I peeled out of the student parking lot, I realized running had been the stupidest thing I could have done. Now I looked guilty, unstable, exactly like the paranoid teenager they were painting me as. Worse, I'd left them alone to coordinate their story without any witnesses. My phone started ringing immediately, my mom's number flashing on the screen. They'd already called her. Emma? Honey, where are you? Principal Martinez just called and said you had some kind of breakdown at school? I pulled into a McDonald's parking lot, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Mom, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I found out my teacher is sleeping with Jake, and when I tried to report it, they tried to take my phone away. Silence. Then, Emma, sweetheart, slow down. What teacher? What are you talking about? Ms. Morgan. My English teacher. I have proof, Mom, text messages, recordings, everything. But Martinez tried to confiscate my phone before I could show anyone else. Emma. Mom's voice took on that careful tone people use with someone who might be having a mental breakdown. These are very serious accusations. Are you absolutely sure about what you think you saw? The doubt in her voice hit me like a slap. Even my own mother was questioning my sanity. I have video of her at Jake's house last night, Mom. I have recordings of her trying to cover it up. They're all working together. Okay, honey. Just, come home. We'll figure this out together. But as I hung up, another text from an unknown number made my blood freeze. Asterisk, your parents just got an interesting call about your recent behavior. Funny how concerned teachers can be about troubled students. Asterisk. They were getting to my parents. Probably feeding them stories about my declining mental health and delusional episodes. By the time I got home, Mom and Dad would be ready to have me committed, not ready to help me expose a conspiracy. I sat in that McDonald's parking lot, watching normal people go about their normal lives, and realized how completely screwed I was. No one would believe a troubled teenager over respected school administrators. My evidence would be dismissed as fabricated. My parents would probably put me in therapy. But then my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emma? This is Sarah Chen, Brittany's older sister. I graduated 3 years ago? I remembered Sarah vaguely, student body president, valedictorian, now at Stanford. Hi. Brittany told me what happened yesterday with Jake. Look, I need to meet with you. Today. There are things about Lincoln High you need to know before you try to fight this alone. Something in her voice made my spine straighten. What kind of things? Not over the phone. Can you meet me at Riverside Park in 20 minutes? By the old playground? Sarah, I don't understand. Emma. Her voice was urgent now. You're not the first student this has happened to. Martinez and Morgan have been doing this for years. But if you try to expose them without understanding how deep this goes, they'll destroy you. The line went dead, leaving me staring at my phone in shock. Other students? Years? How many people knew about this? I looked around the McDonald's parking lot, suddenly paranoid that someone was watching me. That anonymous thread echoed in my head. Asterisk, some secrets are bigger than you think. Asterisk. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'd stumbled into something way bigger than one inappropriate relationship. But as I started my car and headed toward Riverside Park, one thought kept me going. If Sarah was right, if there were other victims, then I wasn't fighting this battle alone anymore. And maybe, just maybe, we could actually win. Riverside Park was mostly empty at 10 a.m. on a school day, just a few joggers and dog walkers scattered across the grounds. I found Sarah sitting on a bench by the old playground, looking nothing like the competent student body president I remembered. She kept glancing around nervously, like she expected someone to jump out from behind the swing set. Thanks for coming, she said as I approached, but didn't invite me to sit down. Walk with me. It's safer if we keep moving. We started down the path that wound around the small pond, Sarah maintaining a brisk pace that made casual conversation impossible. After a few minutes, she finally spoke. 3 years ago, I was in your exact position, she said quietly. Different teacher, same pattern. Mr. Davidson in AP History. He groomed me for months, extra help sessions, college recommendation discussions, making me feel special and mature. Then he started crossing lines. My stomach clenched. What happened when you reported it? That's just it, I never got the chance to officially report it. The moment I started asking questions, documenting things, Martinez got involved. Suddenly my grades were being questioned, my college applications were mysteriously delayed, and my parents were getting calls about my declining performance and concerning behavior. We passed a jogger, and Sarah waited until he was well out of earshot before continuing. They have a system, Emma. A whole network. It's not just Morgan and Martinez. There are others, teachers, coaches, even some school board members. They protect each other. How many students? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. That I know of? At least 6, probably more. But here's the thing, they're smart about who they target. Honor students, kids with big college dreams, students who have something to lose. Kids who won't want to risk their futures by making waves. I thought about my Northwestern acceptance, my scholarship applications, everything I'd worked toward for 4 years. They'd chosen their victims perfectly. So what happened to you? How did you get out? Sarah's laugh was bitter. I didn't, not really. Davidson transferred to another district, probably to find fresh victims, and I graduated with decent enough grades to get into Stanford. But it took me 2 years of therapy to feel normal again, and I still have nightmares about what might have happened if I'd stayed quiet. We reached a more secluded part of the path, surrounded by thick trees that muffled the sounds from the main park. Sarah finally stopped walking and turned to face me. The reason I'm telling you this is because you're different, Emma. You actually got evidence. Real, documented proof. That's something none of us had before. But they're trying to confiscate my phone, discredit me. Of course they are. Because you're the first real threat they've faced. Sarah pulled out her own phone. I've been in touch with some of the other victims. We've been waiting for someone like you, someone with actual ammunition. She showed me a group chat with 5 other names I didn't recognize. The messages were brief but clear. Asterisk, is she willing to fight? Do we have enough to go public? This might be our only chance. Asterisk. Emma, what I'm about to ask you is going to put a target on your back bigger than anything you've faced so far. But if you're willing to work with us, we might finally be able to bring them all down. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with yet another unknown number. Asterisk Emma Walsh. Return to school immediately or face criminal charges for truancy and destruction of school property. Asterisk. Sarah read the message over my shoulder and swore softly. They're escalating faster than I expected. That means they're scared. She grabbed my arm, her grip urgent. But it also means we're running out of time. They're going to move against you today, probably within the next few hours. We need to act now. What are you talking about? What kind of action? The nuclear option, Sarah said, her eyes hard with determination. We go public with everything. All of us, all at once, with every piece of evidence we can gather. But Emma, once we do this, there's no going back. Are you ready for war? I stared at Sarah, her words echoing in my head. Are you ready for war? What exactly does going nuclear mean? I asked, though part of me was already afraid of the answer. We coordinate a simultaneous release across multiple platforms, Sarah explained, pulling up what looked like a detailed plan on her phone. Social media, local news outlets, the school board, the district superintendent, even the state education department. We flood them with so much evidence from so many sources that they can't contain or discredit it all. My phone buzzed again, this time it was my dad. Emma, where are you? Your mother is beside herself. Principal Martinez says you threatened a teacher and stole school property. Come home now so we can sort this out. The lies were spreading faster than I could counter them. In a few hours, everyone would believe I was the problem, the unstable student making wild accusations against innocent educators. They're already poisoning the narrative, I said, showing Sarah the message. By tonight, I'll be the crazy girl who snapped after a breakup. Which is exactly why we can't wait. Sarah's urgency was infectious. Look, the others are already in position. Jenny Chin. Wait, Jenny? Brittany's cousin? But she graduated last year. Coach Williams got to her junior year. She's been documenting everything since then, waiting for the right moment. Sarah scrolled through the group chat. Marcus has evidence about the assistant principal, David has recordings from the guidance counselor, and Lisa. She paused. Lisa has proof about Martinez himself. My head spun trying to process it all. This wasn't just about inappropriate relationships, this was about systematic abuse of power across the entire school administration. How long have you all been planning this? Since I graduated. We knew we couldn't fight them individually, but together. Sarah's phone started ringing. Shit. It's Jenny. Something's wrong. She answered immediately. What's happening? Even from where I stood, I could hear Jenny's panicked voice through the speaker. They got to my parents. Someone called claiming I was spreading malicious rumors online. My dad is threatening to cut off my college funding if I don't stop this nonsense immediately. My stomach sank. They're targeting all of you because of me. Sarah held up a hand, still listening to Jenny. Okay. Just lay low for now. We'll figure this out. She hung up and immediately dialed another number. Marcus? Are you still, what? When did they, damn it. The conversation was brief and terse. When she hung up, her face was grim. Marcus got called into his college advisor's office this morning. Apparently there are questions about his high school transcript that might affect his enrollment status. Sarah started pacing. They're systematically neutralizing everyone in our network. How is that even possible? How do they have that much reach? I told you, Emma, this goes deeper than just Lincoln High. School board members, district officials, probably connections at the colleges too. They've had years to build this protection network. Another text on my phone, this one from my mom. Principal Martinez just called again. He says you have until 2 p.m. to return school property and apologize, or they're pressing charges. Emma, please just come home. I looked at the time, 11:47 a.m. Less than 3 hours before they made good on their threat. Sarah, even if we go public right now, they'll just claim it's a coordinated attack by disgruntled students. Without the others. We still have Lisa, Sarah interrupted. And her evidence is the strongest. If we can just get her story out there first, establish credibility. She was already dialing, but after several rings, it went to voicemail. Lisa, it's Sarah. Call me back immediately. They're moving against everyone today. But even as she left the message, we both knew it was probably too late. They'd gotten to Lisa too. What if we can't reach her? I asked, watching Sarah's confidence crack for the first time. Then we're back to just you and me, she admitted. And honestly, Emma, I don't think that's enough to survive what they're about to throw at us. My phone rang, Jake's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emma, thank God. Look, I know things got weird yesterday, but Ms. Morgan explained everything. She was just trying to help us work through our relationship problems. You misunderstood. Jake, I had video of her at your house last night. Silence. Then, you were watching my house? Emma, that's stalking. That's actually illegal. The gaslighting was so smooth, so practiced, that for a moment I actually questioned myself. Had I misunderstood? Was I the problem? But then Sarah grabbed my phone. Jake Morrison, this is Sarah Chin. Class of 2021. Tell me, did Ms. Morgan mention that she used the exact same lines on me when she was grooming me for Mr. Davidson? Or that this is a pattern they perfected on at least 6 other students? The line went dead immediately. Sarah handed back my phone, her expression fierce. Emma, they're about to destroy your life to protect their secret. The question is, are you going to let them? I stared at my phone after Jake hung up, Sarah's question echoing in my head. Are you going to let them destroy your life to protect their secret? No, I said finally. But if we're doing this, we need to be smarter than they are. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? They're picking us off one by one because they know we're planning something. But what if we weren't the ones making the accusations? I pulled up my cloud storage, scrolling through all the evidence I'd gathered. What if it came from someone they can't touch? Emma, I don't follow. My debate coach always said the best arguments come from credible sources. We need someone with authority, someone outside their network. I was thinking out loud now, the plan forming as I spoke. What about that investigative reporter from Channel 7? The one who did the expose on the district's budget corruption last year. Sarah's eyes widened. Amanda Rodriguez? But how would we even get her attention? And why would she believe a bunch of teenagers? Because we're not going to present this as teenagers making accusations. We're going to present it as concerned citizens providing evidence of criminal activity. I started typing rapidly on my phone. Anonymous tip line. Let them think it came from a parent, or another teacher, or someone who witnessed something. But they'll know it was us. Will they? Think about it, Sarah. How many people have access to information about this network? Current students, former students, teachers who've been pressured to stay quiet, parents who suspected something but couldn't prove it. I looked up from my phone. We make ourselves part of a much bigger group of potential sources. Sarah was quiet for a moment, processing. That might actually work. But we'd need to be completely anonymous. No contact information tied back to us, no digital fingerprints. I know how to do that, I said, remembering late nights helping my older brother with his cybersecurity coursework before he graduated. Burner email accounts, public Wi-Fi, VPN routing. Make it impossible to trace back to any specific person. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. This time, I let it go to voicemail, but the message made my blood run cold. Emma, this is Attorney Patricia Wells representing Lincoln High School District. You are in possession of stolen school property and are making defamatory statements about district employees. You have until 2 p.m. to return all devices and materials to Principal Martinez and sign a formal apology, or we will be forced to pursue criminal charges and civil litigation. This is not a threat, it's a promise. Sarah heard the whole message. They lawyered up fast. which means they're desperate. I was already walking toward the parking lot. Come on. We have less than 2 hours, and I need to get to somewhere with better internet. Where are we going? The public library. Anonymous internet access, security cameras for our protection, and plenty of witnesses if they try to intimidate us there. I unlocked my car. Plus, if this goes wrong, at least we'll go down swinging in a place that stands for free access to information. Sarah got in the passenger seat, her nervous energy filling the small space. Emma, you realize that if this backfires, they won't just destroy our reputations. They'll come after our families, our college prospects, everything we've worked for. I started the engine, checking my rearview mirror for any sign that we were being followed. They're already doing that, Sarah. The only difference is whether we fight back or just let them steamroll us. As we pulled out of the park, my phone exploded with notifications, missed calls, angry texts, voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize. The pressure campaign was intensifying by the minute. But for the first time since finding those texts on Jake's phone, I felt like I had a real plan. They wanted to play hardball? Fine. But they were about to learn that this particular teenager had some tricks they hadn't counted on. The war Sarah had warned me about was starting whether I was ready or not. The only question now was who would be left standing when the dust settled. The public library's computer lab was nearly empty at noon on a Tuesday, just a few elderly patrons checking email and a college student typing furiously on what looked like a research paper. Perfect for flying under the radar. Sarah and I claimed computers in the back corner, angled so we could see anyone approaching. I brought a USB drive with all my evidence, but first I needed to create completely untraceable communication channels. Okay, I whispered, pulling up a VPN service. First we route our connection through 3 different countries, then create burner email accounts with fake names and... Emma Walsh? My blood turned to ice. A middle-aged woman in a business suit stood behind us, her expression serious but not unkind. I didn't recognize her, but something about the way she carried herself screamed authority. I'm Detective Laura Kim with the County Sheriff's Office. I need to speak with you about some accusations that have been brought to our attention. Sarah grabbed my arm under the table. This was it, they'd actually called the police on us. My mind raced through everything I'd done that could possibly be considered criminal. Trespassing when I watched Jake's house? Recording conversations without consent? Am I under arrest? I managed to ask. No, you're not under arrest. But I do need to ask you some questions. Detective Kim pulled up a chair, positioning herself so that other library patrons couldn't overhear. I understand you've made some serious allegations about staff members at Lincoln High School. I haven't made any allegations to anyone official, I said carefully. I was planning to, but Principal Martinez contacted us first, Kim finished. He's concerned that you might be planning to make false statements that could damage innocent people's reputations. He wanted us to be aware of the situation. Sarah and I exchanged glances. They were really trying to get ahead of this, painting me as the aggressor before I could even present my evidence. However, Kim continued, and something in her tone made me look up sharply. Martinez isn't the only one who's been in contact with our department recently. My heart stopped. What do you mean? 3 days ago, we received an anonymous tip about possible inappropriate relationships between Lincoln High staff and students. The tipster claimed to have evidence but wanted to remain confidential for safety reasons. Kim leaned forward slightly. Emma, I need you to tell me everything you know, and I need you to be completely honest with me. I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. Someone else had already contacted the police? Someone else knew about the network? I have recordings. Text messages. Video footage, I said slowly. Can I see them? I looked at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and started showing Detective Kim the screenshots from Jake's phone, the recording of Ms. Morgan trying to manipulate me, the video from outside Jake's house. Kim's expression grew increasingly grim as she reviewed each piece of evidence. Emma, how long have you been documenting this? Since I found the first text messages 3 days ago. But Detective Kim, it's not just Ms. Morgan. There are other teachers, other students. It's like a whole system. Stop. Kim held up her hand, glancing around the library. Not here. This conversation needs to happen somewhere more secure. She stood up, pulling out her business card. I need you to come to the station with your parents. Today. Bring all your evidence and be prepared to make a formal statement. Am I in trouble? Martinez said they were going to press charges. Emma, listen to me very carefully. Kim's voice was urgent but quiet. Principal Martinez has no idea I'm here. As far as he knows, we dismissed the anonymous tip as a prank. But what you've just shown me corroborates everything the tipster told us. She paused, looking directly into my eyes. You're not in trouble. You might be the key to breaking open something we've been trying to investigate for months. Sarah gasped beside me. Months? There have been rumors, complaints that never went anywhere, students who transferred schools suddenly. But never any solid evidence. Kim tucked her card into my hand. Until now. My phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. Asterisk Detective Kim is not your friend. Trust no one in uniform. They're all connected. Asterisk. I showed Kim the message, and her face darkened. Emma, how many people have been contacting you with threats? I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 different numbers since yesterday. And you don't recognize any of them? No, but... I hesitated, then decided to trust her. Detective Kim, what if this goes higher than just the school? What if people in the district office are involved, or even law enforcement? Kim finished grimly. That's exactly what we're trying to find out. Which is why I need you to be very careful about who you trust from this point forward. She handed me another card, this one with a different number written on the back. This is my direct line. If anything happens, anything at all, you call me immediately. Don't go through dispatch, don't call 911. Call me directly. As Kim walked away, Sarah and I sat in stunned silence. Everything had just changed in the span of 10 minutes. Sarah, I whispered, what if we're in way deeper than we thought? But Sarah was staring at something on her phone screen, her face pale. Emma, look at this. She showed me a news alert that had just popped up. Lincoln High School English teacher placed on administrative leave following internal investigation. Ms. Morgan. They were already moving to contain the damage, probably hoping to make her the scapegoat while protecting everyone else in the network. My phone rang, Detective Kim's direct number. Emma, turn on Channel 7 News. Right now. I fumbled for the TV remote in the library's media section, Sarah close behind me as we huddled around one of the small viewing screens. Channel 7's afternoon news was just starting, and my heart nearly stopped when I saw the banner scrolling across the bottom. Breaking. Anonymous whistleblower exposes alleged abuse network at local high school. Amanda Rodriguez, the investigative reporter I'd been planning to contact, filled the screen. Good afternoon, I'm Amanda Rodriguez with an exclusive investigation into Lincoln High School, where sources allege a coordinated network of inappropriate relationships between staff and students spanning multiple years. My phone was buzzing nonstop in my hand, but I couldn't look away from the screen. Channel 7 has obtained what appears to be documented evidence of these relationships, including text messages, audio recordings, and witness testimony from multiple alleged victims, Rodriguez continued. We've confirmed that at least 3 current staff members have been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. 3? I'd only known about Ms. Morgan. Sarah grabbed my arm. Emma, someone beat us to it. Someone else went public. But who? The anonymous tipster Detective Kim mentioned? One of the other victims from Sarah's network? Or someone else entirely, maybe another student who'd been documenting this parallel to my investigation? My phone finally stopped buzzing long enough for me to see the messages flooding in. Jake, what the hell did you do? My mom, Emma, are you seeing the news? Come home immediately. Unknown numbers, you have no idea what you've started. This is bigger than one school. People are going to get hurt because of this. The news segment continued with a statement from the school district. We take these allegations very seriously and are cooperating fully with law enforcement. The safety and well-being of our students is our top priority. But then Rodriguez added something that made my blood freeze. However, sources close to the investigation tell Channel 7 that several potential witnesses have reported being intimidated or threatened in an apparent attempt to prevent them from coming forward. The camera cut to a silhouetted figure whose voice had been electronically altered. They have people everywhere, school board, district office, even connections in law enforcement. Students who try to speak up find their grades mysteriously dropping, their college applications getting lost, their families receiving threatening phone calls. That's Lisa, Sarah whispered, recognizing something in the distorted voice I'd missed. She did it. She actually went public. My phone rang, Detective Kim again. Emma, where are you right now? At the library, watching the news. Get out of there. Now. Go straight home, lock your doors, and don't talk to anyone until I get there. The story just broke everything wide open, and people are going to be desperate to control the narrative. Detective Kim, I don't understand. Isn't this what we wanted? The truth getting out? Yes, but now everyone knows there's a student with evidence still out there. You've become a target for anyone trying to cover this up. Her voice was tense. Emma, I just got word that Principal Martinez has filed a police report claiming you stole school property and are part of a conspiracy to defame the district. He's pushing for your immediate arrest. My legs went weak. But you said I wasn't in trouble. You're not, but Martinez doesn't know I'm protecting you. As far as he's concerned, you're a rogue student who needs to be silenced before you can do more damage. Kim paused. There are going to be officers looking for you within the hour. I need to get to you first. Sarah was already packing up our stuff, her movements urgent. Emma, we need to go. Now. But as we headed for the library exit, I spotted 2 men in suits talking to the librarian at the front desk. One of them was showing a badge, the other was pointing in our direction. Sarah, I whispered, back door. Move. We slipped through the stacks toward the rear exit, but my phone buzzed with one final message that made my hands shake. Emma Walsh, you have 1 hour to turn yourself in voluntarily, or we come find you. This is your last chance to do this the easy way. The message was from Principal Martinez's number. The hunt had begun. We made it to Sarah's car just as Detective Kim's unmarked vehicle pulled into the library parking lot. She flashed her lights twice, our signal, and we quickly transferred to her back seat. Drive, I said, watching the men in suits emerge from the library's front entrance. They're right behind us. Kim pulled out calmly, like we were heading to lunch instead of fleeing a conspiracy. Emma, I need you to know, that news story changed everything. The FBI is taking over the investigation as of 1 hour ago. The FBI? Sarah's voice cracked. This network spans multiple school districts across 3 counties. What you uncovered wasn't just Lincoln High, it's a systematic abuse ring that's been operating for nearly a decade. Kim's radio crackled with urgent chatter. Your evidence was the missing piece they needed. My phone exploded with notifications as we drove. Social media was going insane, hashtag Lincoln High scandal was trending, students were posting their own stories, parents were demanding answers. The dam had finally burst. But then I saw Jake's name pop up in my messages, and my heart lurched. Emma, please. Ms. Morgan said she'd help me get into state if I just. I never meant for it to go this far. I'm scared. For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt sorry for him. Jake wasn't evil, he was another victim, groomed and manipulated just like the rest of us. Detective Kim, I said, Jake needs help too. He's not the enemy here. We know. He's already been contacted by victim services. Kim pulled into the police station's secure garage. Emma, there are news vans surrounding your house, reporters trying to interview your parents, and Martinez has been calling the station every 10 minutes demanding your arrest. But here's what he doesn't know. She turned around to face me, and for the first time, she was smiling. An hour ago, we executed simultaneous search warrants on Martinez's office, Morgan's apartment, and 5 other staff members' homes. We found everything, years of communications, a whole database of student targets, even financial records showing payments to keep people quiet. The relief hit me like a physical wave. It's over? Honey, you brought down the entire network. Martinez, Morgan, 3 other teachers, 2 coaches, and a school board member are all in custody. The district superintendent resigned 20 minutes ago. Kim helped us out of the car. You did something incredibly brave, and it's going to protect hundreds of other students. Inside the station, the next few hours passed in a blur of statements, interviews, and FBI agents who treated me like a hero instead of a troublemaker. My parents arrived, terrified but proud, and for the first time in days, I felt truly safe. As evening fell, I finally had a quiet moment to check my phone. Messages from classmates thanking me for my courage, from other students at different schools sharing their own stories, from complete strangers offering support. But the one that made me cry was from Jake. "I'm sorry, Em. For everything. You saved me too, even after what I did. Thank you." 3 months later, I walked across the graduation stage to thunderous applause. Northwestern had not only honored my acceptance but offered additional scholarship money for exceptional moral courage. Ms. Morgan and Principal Martinez were serving prison sentences. The entire district had been restructured with new oversight protocols. But the best part? Sarah and I had started a nonprofit helping other students recognize and report abuse. We called it the Evidence Project, because sometimes the most powerful thing a teenager can do is simply document the truth. I learned that revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is just making sure they can never hurt anyone else again.